It's nothing but playboys and tennis pros. If only I could find a real man.
I need to use your phone. Should call you back.
Who are you?
Bond, James Bond. Exercise Control 007 here. I'll report in an hour.
Won't you join me?
Better make that two.
Hi, welcome to my fourth review of the longest running film series ever based on Ian Fleming's James Bond 007. Every film so far was picked on its impact on the series as time went on, so without further ado, join me now as we continue the 007 body count. Our stop this time is in 1987 with The Living Daylights. This was to be the last consecutive Bond film to use the title of a story from Fleming until 2006 with Casino Royale. Being the 15th Bond film, it marked the 25th anniversary of the series 25 years ago. The film marked the dawn of a new era, being much more fast-paced with action scenes of great intensity. Action films were on the rise in the late 80s with features like Commando, Lethal Weapon, and Die Hard taking all the money at the box office. The Living Daylights was to have that same type of edge, abandoning the cliched approach that was so prevalent in the films that came before it. With that new approach came a new actor to play the role, Timothy Dalton, who actually wasn't the first choice on the casting call for this film, but was in fact approached 18 years prior during production of On Her Majesty's Secret Service. At that time, he turned down the part because he felt Bond should be seen as a veteran, with a hard edge, and with Dalton being in his mid-20s when he was offered the role the first time, it just really didn't seem believable to him. That's basically an actor that really has to believe in the part that's offered to him. For the opening sequence where you saw him on top of the Land Rover, he insisted that he be the one on top of it, much to the chagrin of the producers. Appearing in films like Mary, Queen of Scots, or The Lion in Winter, he played a diverse amount of roles.
Stop!
Ooh, that's right, I almost forgot. One can never forget the role he played as Prince Baron in the 1980 cult classic produced by Dino De Laurentiis, Flash Gordon, where he stole the show. Even in Toy Story 3, audiences heard him as the lovable, hysterically overly dramatic hedgehog, Mr. Pricklepants. Ultimately not confined to the role of Bond, as he opted for stage, television, and film for diversity, despite being considered for GoldenEye, he left the role, but also left a mark on the film series, with the producers giving future Bond films a more fast, edgy pace, showing the main character in a much different way audiences weren't used to without deterring their interests. Known as the only director within this series to have directed the most Bond films, with 5 to be exact, director John Glenn worked his way up the ranks within a 40-year period prior to this film as a second-unit director and editor, lending his hand to classic films from the 70s such as Superman the Movie, and 3 Bond films prior to The Living Daylights, before his directorial debut with For Your Eyes Only. Now, the story for the film was a short volume that was part of 2, Octopussy and The Living Daylights. Later editions included 2 other short stories from Fleming, Property of a Lady and 007 in New York. The premise of the story is a 3-day operation with Bond, faced with having to counter a KGB sniper who intends to assassinate an MI6 agent trying to get out of Berlin. The sniper turns out to be a blonde female cellist, Bond spotted as part of an orchestral group who arrive and leave 3 nights in a row. He shoots the rifle out of her hand, opting out of a fatal shot at a split second. With the mission being a success for thwarting the assassination, he doesn't kill the sniper, much to his delight, and much to the chagrin of his superiors, with him not caring one bit.
Go ahead, tell him what you want. If he fires me, I'll thank him for it. Whoever she was must have scared the living daylights out of her.
The screenplay for The Living Daylights takes the whole story of the book and condenses it into a small intro at the beginning after the title sequence. In the movie, we find out that the sniper is really set up as bait, as a diversionary tactic in an effort to raise suspicion against General Pushkin, the new head of the KGB, along with a calling card of sorts that would always be found, tagged, or placed onto anyone killed with the name Smeart Spunyan written on it. The British linked the two together and suspect Pushkin is covering something up, and he's using as a cover a directive that the KGB deactivated many years ago. It's found out that General Georgy Koskov set the whole thing up, getting MI6 involved, pleading for protection in order to cover up an arrangement with an arms dealer, Brad Whitaker, and Necros, an assassin used to eliminate anyone that gets in their way. At the film's climax, Bond and Kara are aided by an Afghan mujahideen headed by Kamran Shah, which becomes the perfect opportunity to screw Koskov out of a shipment of opium that could generate the revenue needed to supply arms and net a huge profit.
James is trapped. You must help him.
He'll have to take his chances.
You can't leave him. You owe him your life.
There's nothing more I can do.
Yes, there is.
Wow, talk about being assertive. Then again, the women of the Bond film series were always very dynamic and always represented the other half of the story in both the book and the films. In The Living Daylights, Marion Diablo plays Kara Malove, the Bond girl. She made her film debut in the sci-fi horror film Extra, which was actually very successful. A very extensive career in film and television, she co-wrote a book with John Cork titled Bond Girls Are Forever, profiling girls from the Bond film series as distinct from any other genre. Aside from playing the role of General Pushkin in The Living Daylights, John Rhys Davies is also very well known for numerous roles, from Solace, the Egyptian excavator in the Indiana Jones films, Gimli the Dwarf from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, as well as voice work such as Baron Yotzek from Batman the Animated Series and the Man Ray from SpongeBob. Yaroun Krabbe plays the main villain of the film, Georgy Koskov. He made his American film debut in the spy comedy with Whoopi Goldberg, Jumping Jack Flash. He went on to produce and direct international films as well, and was a jury member of the 49th Berlin International Film Festival. Andrzej Wisniewski plays Necros, the leading henchman of the film, who also infiltrates MI6 under many guises, from milkman, doctor, or even balloon salesman, with a few different accents. But how many people know that he was also Tony, brother of Carl, the main henchman in Die Hard? Joe Don Baker is Whitaker, an arms dealer who happens to be the counterpart of the trio of villains for this film. He also appears in 2 more Bond films as an ally from the CIA, making him the 3rd actor to reappear in a Bond film either as an ally or enemy. Marking the 25th anniversary of the film series came the return of the Aston Martin, in this case, the V8 Vantage. In the spirit of Goldfinger, The Living Daylights brings back the gadgets that came with the car the 007 drove. With the new technology of the time, lasers and mini-missiles replaced the blades and machine guns. This all leads to one of the most imaginative chase scenes to be seen in a Bond film. Known as Britain's first supercar, it could go up to about 170 miles per hour, reaching 60 in about 5 seconds. The first line of the model had a torque of about 375 horsepower. The 580X was a blown engine of sorts, boasting 437 horsepower. Ultimately, the Aston Martin was back. Now, if you look closely at the orchestra leader, you'll notice that that's actually John Barry, the one responsible for carrying on Monty Norman's theme for James Bond. Between Dr. No and The Living Daylights, he actually composed the score for 11 of those films, with The Living Daylights being the very last of which of the series. As far as I'm concerned, The Living Daylights marked a major turning point the film series took, embarking on a more serious tone that film audiences really connected with, while still able to retain the humor to a certain degree without being too cliché. This film came out around the time that I finished my first year of high school, and that was when I started to take a strong interest in the film series, leading me into reading a lot of the books and renting all the original films. With that, there was a series revival in all the Bond films. And the way I see it, with every decade that goes by, it all just seems to be getting better. Once again, thank you for watching this clip I put together. I shall return with yet another, bringing the body count to 4, with 3 more to go, adding to 7. 007, that is, with my next review having fun facts and thrills that will leave you shaken, but not stirred. See you